It's taken me years to through casual on and off research to finally figure out how CEO Jim Weber of Brooks Running ruined the Brooks running shoe. But I finally figured it out. So I was a lifelong user of Brooks running shoes, and I raved about them, and I tried to turn other people onto them. They were so damn good. I mean, they're fantastic. And I eventually I settled on the Glycerin as my go-to shoe. And what I found was um, I felt like I was springing off the pavement. It was fantastic. And what would happen is they'd eventually wear out, and I'd notice this because my knees would hurt. So whenever my knees would start to hurt, I'd know, okay, the shoes have worn out, and I just order a new pair online, and they'd come, and the knee pain would go away the first time I ran. So, um, so that happened, I think, the last time in like 2014, and I my pair of Glycerins finally wore out. My knees were hurting. I ordered a new pair, put them on, went running, and my knees hurt more. So I thought, well, this is a flawed pair. They made a mistake. It's a reject. So I sent them back and got another pair. And the same thing, my knees hurt even more. So I realized something was wrong. They changed the shoe. They must have changed the shoe. And I started looking into it, and they had changed the shoe. They changed the midsole. And they'd gone from like the Biomogo to the DNA material. And there are different iterations of DNA, but I realized that must be what the problem was, right? And the problem was that the old Biomogo, when your foot landed, the sole would compress and it would distribute that pressure, that compression, the weight, and the pressure from landing throughout the sole. And there were little air bubbles that would absorb the shock. And then when you started to lift, the air bubbles would pop back up and push you up, right? And what was happening with the new DNA material, I felt like I was running on a wooden block. There was no spring, so that I couldn't feel them like dip down as I landed and um, distribute the pressure and then push it back up when I lifted. There was no movement at all, no compression at all. It was like running on wooden blocks. So it's taken me enough of years of casual research, and I was finally able to piece this together using Chat GPT to get the missing pieces of the picture, right? That I didn't have. So this is the bottom line. Turns out the old Biomogo, that was this EVA material, right? And it was compression molded. So what they do is they'd have an open mold. They'd put the plastic material in the mold, put a top on it, and there'd be air in there, right? So you're closing it up and you've got air trapped in there. They heat it up, it melts and it mixes, and because of the heat, the air bubbles would expand within the plastic or the rubber, and then they'd remove it from the mold and it would harden. So you've got these pressurized air bubbles within the plastic or the rubber, and that's why it would spring, because you get these air bubbles like stuck in there and they're pressurized, and when you push down, you're compressing them, and they want to bounce, they want to spring back to their normal shape, right? And eventually, over time, if you know how that works, you keep working something, it's going to weaken, and the air would dissipate, and that's how it would eventually lose its spring. And that's why my knees would start to hurt, because it was no longer compressing, because the air had dissipated out of the bubble, and it was no longer pressurized. Okay, the so that the Biomogo, the old midsole material, was this compression molded EVA material. When they switched to the DNA, that was not compression molded, it was injection molded. So what you're doing is you're taking an enclosed die. It's not open and then you put the top on it, it's enclosed, and they inject the EVA, the rubber material, the DNA, they called it. They inject it. And when you inject something like that, it pushes all the air out. So you've got the rubber in a mold, but there's no air in there. So you've got no air bubbles to form. And that's why it's just like this solid material that doesn't compress. It's hard. So when you land on it, it doesn't have the air bubbles, so it's not compressing and pushing back up. So if you're landing on a midsole that's not compressing, what's going to happen? The pressure is going to go, the compression is going to go somewhere else. And one of the weakest links in the chain of your your physiology of running is the knees. So that's why, that first time I tried the new DNA glycerins, um, all the pressure continued to, I was going from having these worn out glycerins where the air bubbles for the Biomogo had dissipated to trying the new DNA glycerin that had no air bubbles to compress. So it was the same as having a worn out pair of glycerins with the Biomogo. So this is a big, Jim Weber, in the industry, I feel, has played a big joke on us, right? They have all this sales marketing crap telling us how great it is, and they're trying to explain scientifically how it's better. It's not. It's not. It's not better. It's worse. And I'm sure a lot more people. I just stopped running for a while, and I found it fixed, but I don't want to get into that. Um, but I found a way to get around it. But well, I'll tell you. Basically, I discovered that a lot of hiking shoes still use the compression molded EVA, and they have that spring that the Brooks and other running shoes used to have, right? So I started running in hiking shoes. But I had a period of, before I discovered the hiking shoes, I had a period of about 2 years where I went from running like 6 days a week in the summer to like once every 2 weeks because it killed my knees, you know? So I don't know how many other people have knee injuries or ankle injuries, or shin splints from the lack of spring, you know, in the new DNA material. But it's a shame because the industries, to save a buck, they've done this, and they're not delivering value to the consumer. Yet the consumer doesn't understand this. So hopefully more people will understand it. And the reason I'm posting this video is I'm hoping people will pressure the running shoe industry to go back to the compression molded EVA, because I think what's happening is those factories are closing down, and at some point we won't be able to get any compression molded EVA. So thanks.